All right.
There we go.
Yeah. Still haven't figured out how to do an intro. I was going to start this one off by just saying, Emily, you've been a great guest. Thanks so much for joining us. Had our technical difficulties there, but here we're back with episode something 66. Is that right, Vic? Who cares?
I think I listened to some of 65 and 64 and all the way down into the 40s.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Thanks for.
Oh wow, damn. Thank you.
I mean, just pieces.
Yeah, that's all you've been doing for like the past 2 weeks is listening to our podcast nonstop. We appreciate it.
That's how long it would take. They're kind of long.
We talk for a long time. I say we. It's really all me. Yeah. It's me. I talk a lot. But Emily, Shirley, well, thank you for being our guest. Great to have you on here. I'm a big fan. Vic and I, before you got on here, we were just talking about your latest song. Your latest single just came out. And you've been putting out a lot of singles the last few years, which is really cool. Over to your Spotify, it's just like single, and they've all got like cool different artwork, and it's like there's been you've got a lot of things that are topical, right? You sang about obviously at the onset of the pandemic, Everyday Heroes, and then you had a song, was it Survivor, about the winter storm last year, right?
That's yes.
And then the latest, your latest single, tell us about the latest single. What is it about? Where did that one come from?
That song, you've done your homework.
Not really, but I mean, yeah, totally.
Totally. So the latest single, the one that came out yesterday, is called The Last Time. And I kind of started writing it during lockdown, which I thought was March 2020, but maybe it was early April. I don't remember when the whole thing started, but yeah, it's just about, I was just hearing all these. I was fortunate because all my people are here, my family and my kids, and they weren't in school, and that was tough. But hearing these stories about people who are just separated because, they got stuck in another country, or a loved one died, or they're teenagers and they're dating and they're in lockdown and now they can't see each other at all. And so that song kind of speaks to that sort of isolation I think we all were feeling, just kind of being at home and
back when we were all like, this will blow over in a few months.
Yeah.
We just got to make it to the summer of 2020 and everything will be better.
It's just 2 weeks. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I remember thinking, in March or April, by the summer, this will be fine.
And then what was it, June or July, some things started opening up, right? And we were kind of tiptoeing back out. And then it was immediately shut down again. And I think at that point, everyone's like, okay, this is going to be the rest of the year, more or less. But then 2021, we've all been functioning and moved on with our lives for the most part. I mean, I say that it's no big deal, but this has impacted millions and millions of people in various ways. And unfortunately, in the worst way for so many. But I mean, here we are, right? And, I'm glad that at least for you, you were able to, it doesn't, I feel for a lot of the people like bartenders and those kind of service jobs and those industry jobs that just all shut down, and all those people were out of work, and so many musicians that, were playing. I was fortunate enough to be able to do online teaching and was doing some online stuff. And I just kind of went into a little hibernation shell of writing and being creative there for a little while. But, so many people just got screwed in the worst way. And I think now that we're at now, it's hindsight is 2020, but what could we have done, right? I mean, was it just inevitable? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I also was so fortunate because I'm freelance, So it really didn't affect my work at all because people were still putting out records. And they needed design work.
Yeah, I was going to say, you do graphic design, right?
Yeah. So, but what affected me the most was when my kids were out of school. That's when I was white knuckling it, First, it was the first 3 months. It was oh, cool. We got all this time together and we're going to do all these things I've always wanted to do. We've so much time. We're going to bake things and do crafts. And then by the end of that 3 months, it was just I mean, I don't even come in my office.
Yeah.
Y'all just.
Now, how old are your kids? Look, when we met, I'm trying to think when it was, because I took vocal lessons from you many years back. That's how we initially met.
Many years ago, yeah.
At Red Leaf School of Music, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe is what it was called. And golly, I'm guessing like 2009 or something, maybe in that realm.
Yeah. So I was.
Well, you were pregnant at the time.
I was thinking about that early. I was pregnant with my second.
Oh, okay.
Kid.
Okay. So how old are your kids?
They are 12 and 13. So one was born in 2010, and that's probably the one I was still housing. And then the other one was born in 2008.
Okay.
So they're about a year and a half apart.
Yeah, I bet it was. You're right. Probably 2010 sounds about right. Because I started my band, The Good Rogering, around 2008, and very quickly was like, I have a lot of great melodies in my head. I'm not very good at singing them right now, and I was like, maybe I should take some vocal lessons. So it was 2010 when I started performing live, and was going like, man, this sucks. I was like, I should take some vocal lessons.
Well,
it all makes sense.
And the Red Leaf School. Red Leaf's still there. I haven't been in there in a long time, but.
Well, Dan Barrett, who I met in a different school, we taught it together, prior to that. And I remember he was the owner, and then he sold it, right? He had that for a few years and started it, or maybe he had a partner or something. And it was over there, same location where there's that co-op. Is that still all kind of the same, or do you have any idea?
Yes, the same place. So Dan and Gino Stroya, who's also in the Damn Torpedoes.
Okay, cool.
They went in as partners,
mm-hmm.
and then after some time, Dan, I think, sold his part or moved on and started a studio out of his studio on his own.
Right.
And Gino still has it, and he has lessons, and I don't know about a co-op over there, but I know like teachers can
mm-hmm.
rent space and teach out of there.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
He's still going.
Great. Now, do you still teach music too, like freelance, or you're doing graphic design is what you do these days? Yeah.
So, what changed it for me? Well, the kids, that was the thing. And then we moved out to Dripping Springs.
Okay.
So, the commute for me is longer, and I didn't have enough students to really
justify that drive.
Justify it. Yeah.
Yeah. I always was like, I should start doing online stuff. And I taught at school. And then I ended up just getting a whole bunch of private students. I used to drive all over, Westlake and Lost Creek and stuff teaching. And then the pandemic happened, and we were forced to do things online. And then I started going like, oh, this is way cool. I don't even have to put pants on. I mean, I to clarify, I actually do wear pants during my lessons, but just, I don't have to wear pants that require, putting on a belt and
shoes.
Shoes. I don't have to do any of that stuff. And, it's really fantastic. And I love it.
You're teaching
guitar, piano. Yeah, those two.
And piano. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're teaching piano?
Oh, I've been teaching piano for as long as I've been teaching guitar too.
Maybe we should talk about that. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Anytime. In fact, let's get to a couple of things. Like you want to talk about studio, piano, and these are two things I want to talk about getting into. We initially met back in that capacity, and then probably didn't see you for a few years, I imagine, and then reconnected, as far as I can recollect, via the 1159 songwriting group started by Dave Madden, right? Mm-hmm. And so far, Vic and I have had on here. Who have we had from that group, Vic?
We've had Ray, who couldn't figure out his microphone. So
yeah, Ray. Yeah, don't worry, you're not the only one who had technical. Ray, I don't think Ray, as prolific and fantastic as Ray Prim's music always sounds, as we know, Emily, better than anybody. Like the way this guy knocks them out. They're always fantastic, pieces of music, songs. I think we did the whole interview with Ray Prim, and he was talking into his microphone, and it was never on. I think it was like the it was like the computer audio the whole time or something.
the webcam.
And he was afraid he was going to get in trouble for like going too long and not watching a movie with his girl or something. But it was pretty fun.
Did you know it at the time that the audio wasn't what you needed it to be?
I don't even remember, but
I'm asking for myself right now, like, or do we know right now that my audio's sorted out?
No,
Okay.
you're fine. Yeah. We were using a different, we were using a different recording device. We were using, what were we using?
Was that Zoom?
Skype.
Oh, Skype with Ray. Yeah. Yeah, we tried a bunch of different things and,
Yeah, trial and error.
Some go better than others.
And I know you had Natalie Price, right?
Natalie Price, yes. Mm-hmm. And Natalie Price
yes.
Everyone from that group's amazing. I would gladly have anybody on here. And I think I reached out to Ray, and then I had put a post last year like, hey, is anybody, I started a podcast if anyone wants to be on. And Natalie was the one person that was like me. And I was like, awesome, because I love Natalie's music. And then this time around, you were like, hey, what about your podcast? And I was like, yes, Emily, so like two of my favorite songwriters. So happy to have you on. And yeah, Natalie's amazing. She's great. And I think that's it. Maybe we've had someone else.
Is that it?
I don't know. I feel really bad if we did, because I'm not mentioning them, but
we had a really short one with what was his name? He was traveling all over the place.
Well, that was Ulrich, right? But
is he not part of that group?
He wasn't in that.
No. Okay.
So Emily, now have you been in 1159 from the get-go or no?
I don't think so. So this is my third year, I think I figured out, or my fourth. I think it's the fourth, actually. Did we start the same year?
That was the first year that I started. I'm pretty sure that was the first year Dave did it. And when it was great, and then it just kept going. I want to say this is the fourth year.
I'm looking. Can I look? So that we know.
Now, have you always completed all of your assignments? Are you one of those overachiever? Well, not Ray Prim style overachiever where you do them all in the first week, but have you always done all 4 of your songs? Because I slacked on the first couple of years and only did a couple. But the last year I got them all, and I've got them. I intend to do them all this year. So.
Yeah. No. So this is the fourth year, by the way.
Okay.
And it's the fourth year I've done it. I don't know if it started before then, but, I do them every time, but it's blood, sweat, and tears. Like all day today, I have been sitting in this chair. I stood up to change my clothes.
You were preparing when you were like, is this video, am I going to need to like look presentable? Because you were in your mind, you were like, I know tomorrow. And this was you're like, I know tomorrow I'm going to be busting ass trying to knock out this 11:59 song all day.
I was having visions. I was like, oh God, okay, this is at 8:00. So I'm going to have to finish this when we get off and get it uploaded before 11:59.
Mm-hmm. I'm in the same boat. We're in the same boat.
Well, I ended up finishing.
Oh, well, never mind.
Are you still going?
Yeah. Look, what I decided is that, because I had this, like, I had some core, sometimes something will come together. Sometimes I'll chip away at it. And I had it kind of, some stuff I messed around. I messed around with a melody and some lyrics. And today I put it together real quick. So it's kind of all there. But I just don't have a second verse, and I'm just going to be like, screw it. I'll copy and paste and finish it later. Like, it's good enough for the submission deadline. So,
well, I think it's not that I procrastinate till the last day either. This is what drives me crazy about me. Like, I've been working on it kind of like all week in a way that I sort of thought was good, but I just wasn't getting anything done. Like little ideas. And today I was like, oh, it's all got to happen right now.
Something to be said for that pressure. I gotta say, I love being in this group for that reason, because I have several songs that I've written that I think I'm very proud of and, feel good about. A couple I've even recorded over at, Same Sky, with David Messier, who's in the group. And those songs never would have happened if I wasn't like, shit, I guess I got to write a song, So I asked you in your email, but I'm going to ask you now, why aren't you posting them in the Facebook group? I don't know. I just haven't been on there that much. I need to do it. And it's one of those things, they're fine, but like, it's one of those things too where I'm like, I know I could like go. And the funny thing is I feel like the more time I spend on it, the more I'm like, it's not there. Like if I just literally phone it in, cause several in the past I were like recorded on a phone, like desperately, like, the hour before. And at least now I've kind of like opened up Pro Tools and, kind of put some stuff. And then you start going down a rabbit hole. You're like, I could do a harmony. I could, redo.
Yeah.
But like today with this one, I mean, what took me the longest was just, I played the piano parts and then kind of pasted things together. And then I had, just kind of laid down some vocals, and I'm like, I know these could be better, and I should but I don't have time. But it's good because at least it's the embryo of the song, and now it exists, and you can come back to it. So that's what's so great about it all. And especially doing it that way, if it's in Pro Tools, then you actually have the MIDI and you have the files, and it's not like a phone thing where you're like, oh shit, what the hell was I playing? You can get in there and listen to everything individually and figure it all out. So
I'm going to go seek yours out in that Dropbox folder.
Okay. Yeah. I'd wait till about 11:59 tonight because that's when it's going in.
I was going to say 11:59:59.
No, that name is so true. Like I guarantee, and there's so many of us that are like that too. That are just like shit. But it is really cool.
But then what about like the Barbara Nesbitt's? I hope her ears are ringing right now. Where she for the first one, she uploaded two songs for the first song,
Disgusting.
and she did it first.
Mm-hmm.
She was like the first person to hand it in, and she handed in two. And I bet you $1 million she's done with all of hers now.
Oh yeah.
She's just.
Well, I don't know if you saw. I did see because I actually did go. What I'll do sometimes is I'll just if I'm like laying in bed or something, like usually like the day after the whatever they're all due, and I'll just sit there and open up the Dropbox folder and just kind of click on them, just kind of listen to them, whatever. And so I kind of, over the course of a few nights, I kind of did that with the first one and the second one. So I've listened to all the stuff except for this new song. But I saw like in the group, a couple of people had posted and several, I guess. But I the last time I looked in there, like Ray had posted like 2 weeks ago, like, hey, I'm just so used to working so fast. I've already got my third one up and here it is. And everyone else is just I just literally turned my other one in last night.
Right. Right now I'm coasting because I don't have to think about a song for another couple days. And he's like, yeah, I'm used to doing a song a week.
Yeah. It all comes back to, I think it's like what were your habits when you were younger, right? I mean, maybe Ray was one of those dudes that was just like, I got a research paper. I'm going to knock it out tonight. I was like, sweet, I got a research paper and I don't have to do that for 3 months.
Me too.
Like most people, right? And then the night before you're like, fuck. Like, and then we like bullshit our way through something.
The only thing is I'm a terrible bullshitter. I cannot, the art of bullshit was not, I haven't developed that skill. So
this guy had to survive on it.
Aside from the Rays and the who was the other person? Barbara. Oh. What's like the average time for folks to turn in? I mean, to work on something.
Well, you have 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks to do a song.
Oh, it's 2 weeks. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Which seems like that's plenty of time, but I mean, people are busy with jobs and other projects and all this and that. And like, and I think for most people, it's just like, it's like anything. You have to get started, right? And one thing that's helped me is like not waiting till the day before to actually start creating an idea. Like I might have an idea and play around with some chords and have a melody. And so at least today when I sat down and like, I'm literally going like, okay, I've got about, 2 to 3 hours to work on this. At least I knew what I was going with, right? At least I had the, and it was like, then I just got to record it and kind of put it together. And it's not just like, oh my God, I got to write a song and, whatever. So, but I think it's such a great exercise. And, it's really, really cool. I love being a part of it. And just everyone in that group is freaking phenomenal. I was telling Vic, so this year, March 5th, right? At the Saxon Pub, hopefully, right? Fingers crossed. Mm-hmm. And do you know which one of your songs you're planning on performing, or?
So maybe the one from today.
Oh, okay.
The first two that I did, songs 1 and 2. I think I might be able to go in and fix them and make them keepers, but I don't have that. Oh, that's a keeper feeling about it.
Right, I see.
But the one that I did today, I kind of do. So, I guess it depends what happens for song 4, but right now of the 3, I think this one, and it's different this time because in the past, I guess there wasn't one last year. We kind of did our own setup.
The online thing, right? Well, yeah. In the past, though, I remember going to one, maybe 2.
Oh yeah, last year was online, and it was the year before that was canceled, right?
Right, and then the year before, then there was one at like Cactus Cafe, I think.
Yeah.
And that was, but what's cool about this year, right? There's going to actually be a house band. So that's great. So you can really do this, it's, not have to do a stripped down version. You can really have the instrumentation and backup there. So that'll be cool. Didn't you do a performance before? Did you do the performance singing with Dave Madden at one time along with your song? Because didn't you have like a choir for some song or something?
I don't think so.
I guess not.
Or if I did, it was a very last minute. Do I have a recollection of doing something super last minute? I don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's done like choral pieces
exactly.
with like.
Yeah.
So I haven't been part of that.
Okay. Well, now he's been bringing it with these pop songs. You got Susanna Schofield back in, and she's they just cranked out that freaking. I mean, this is like a hit pop song, Vic, like full on produced and everything, like Bruno Mars type thing. It's amazing.
I mean,
yeah, some people bring some high level production too. Like I'm just like, wow, damn, like there's some good stuff.
Roger Blevins.
Oh, that dude's ridiculous, right? He's the Mingo Fish Trap guy, right? That guy's just like.
Totally ridiculous.
Yeah, totally ridiculous. And I think Dave was joking about that. He would be like, yeah, I just kind of had to throw this one together and it's not my finest. And then you like listen to it and it's like this masterpiece, R&B jam or something. You're like, really, dude? The rest of us are like sending a voice memo on our phone.
You do what you can do.
Yeah, you do. That's what's cool though too, is that everyone in there is different. And I think that makes it really cool because you have the simple singer songwriters. Is it, Sarah Beth? I can't, that just has the ukulele songs, but so hers are kind of a lot about her lyrics. And so everyone has a different vibe. And then, one thing I like about it is for me, just being kind of scatterbrained all over the place. A lot of times with music, I never know what I'm going to do. There's no stylistic place I go. Like it could just be some really bizarre, avant-garde thing, or it can be a nice little pretty acoustic song. But I do remember last year with the thing, like Dave was like, pick your preference and I was like, definitely this one, because like everything else I had written was just like weird and complicated. And, and there was like one that was just like acoustic and singing. I was like, it needs to be this or I can't like do it.
That one was kind of a little bit Tom Waitsy.
Yeah. I think so.
You have your style is so different. It's so eclectic, like your podcast.
Yes.
But like your musical, see what I did there?
I did.
But I think your musical style, just your own musical style, I think from what I've heard is also so eclectic. It's cool.
Thanks. Yeah.
I didn't even know you played the piano. So.
Yeah, I know. That's a lot. And that's another thing I really like about this, and especially a lot of the music that I've written through this and just other stuff that's so not, I've played in rock bands and metal bands and that kind of stuff, but a lot of more of what I do musically, is not that style even, I think I'm a kind of a class. There's a lot of classical influence. I have a lot of blues influence and that kind of stuff. And then just finding my voice over the years, but like what works for me and my voice, like I've kind of found that there are two sort of.
In the shower. She never went in the shower.
I'm on a podcast. Can I talk to you in a minute? Sorry.
Golly, Emily, so rude. How dare you? No, it's just saying like finding your voice. And for me, like when I came to you, I was like, man, there's all these singers I want to sing like, and I've gotten influence from them. And I've kind of finally found what works. And I'm still really self-conscious about it. I struggle with that constantly. I don't know why. I can't, I don't know what it is about. I just want to be in the woods in a cabin 1,000 miles away from anybody if I'm recording vocals, but I don't know, but I mean, I kind of like know what works, and there's that cross between that low kind of whatever Tom Waitsy thing and then the really bad version of Chris Cornell or something. I don't know what I do, but like you have a style that I love, and I wanted to ask you with your songs, like, what is your recording process? Like, where do you record? How much do you do yourself? What do you use studios? Like, tell us about that.
It's totally studios. And the first thing I ever did, the first songs I ever really recorded were with Dan Barrett.
Okay.
And he wasn't even out of Red Leaf yet.
Right. I remember that. He had a little room in there with the studio equipment.
Yeah. Right? So we did a couple songs there, and then he was over, he had his home studio. And so we did a couple songs there. So I did a few tracks with him. And then, somewhere along the line, I met Mark Hallman, I know I met him through working with the Bell Sounds and working at the Congress House because Andre Moran. Do you know Andre?
Andre is Noel's husband, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I think I've maybe like said hi via Facebook or something, but I know the name. I'm familiar with him. Yeah.
So he's his guitar playing is awesome. And he's the head engineer at the Congress House, or has been for many years. And so I got to know Mark and started working with Mark.
Okay.
And Andre on a handful of songs. So that's kind of where I consider that I started, like those other songs. We sort of wish I could get them off Spotify, just because they were
Neil Young did it. You can do it.
Yeah, but I only want to get some. I don't want to get them all off. I just want to get some off.
Can you just take the ones I don't like off Spotify, please?
Right. Just the ones with this cover. But so I've done a bunch of stuff with Mark, and then I decided just before the pandemic, like I need to work with different people, producers and studios to sort of find my voice. And so I started working with Taylor Tatch, who's Audio Styles. I've done most of my recent stuff with him.
Okay.
I think we kind of have a good thing going right now. But Survivors I actually did with Brian Douglas Phillips, because that's like a totally different kind of song. It was acoustic. We went for like a live acoustic vibe without really any. So the work I've done with Taylor is much more like produced, lush, electric guitars and vocal layers. And Survivors was much more of a live acoustic thing. And that's what Brian Douglas Phillips does really well.
And who did you do the latest single with?
Taylor at Audio Styles.
Yeah, that caught me, and the latest one too, the piano, but on Survivors, there you immediately get, I was actually going to ask about that specific piano. Like you get kind of, there's something to be said for that. There's a dark, organic vibe that you get from, right? You can have a super polished grand piano sound, but that didn't strike me as that. What kind of piano was that?
Oh, God.
Or maybe it's just older and like, I don't know. It just had a unique character that fit the song.
It is a grand piano. I want to say it was a Steinway, but I don't remember.
Okay.
I could text him and he could tell us, but yeah,
that's especially that one. And maybe there's been a couple of your songs that right away, and like just speaking of production, those kind of choices, it hit me right away when you hear just that. I don't know if what better word, just that sort of organic instrument, like just an instrument in a room, and it's just more intimate right away, right? And it just has a character and a quality about it. And it's so hard to emulate that. It's so hard to emulate just a good piano, a real piano. Like I'll fart around with plugins and this and that, trying to do everything under the sun to try to get my keyboard and, MIDI shit to sound whatever. But it's like at the end of the day, like, and then you go hit one note on a piano and you're like, oh, okay, that sounds way better than anything I spent hours trying to, pretend that was a piano.
Right. Yeah. He's got a great piano.
Well, that's cool. Mark. Like that you're mixing it up. I think that's great. And that's something I've done and want to do more of, because I think it just takes you into new territory, You get real comfortable in a certain situation, which is great. But I also think different people, like different producers and engineers, they have their strong points, right? And someone may be perfect for this style of song or this instrumentation, and someone else may be perfect for something else, but not so much that. So finding and knowing different producers in different studios and then you're going in as the artist, like kind of with that vision of the vibe you want with the song. You're like, this guy is going to be perfect for that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And there's, I don't know if you know Andrea Perry, but, I feel okay saying this on here because she knows it. I really want to work with her. Her work is very commercial and pop. And so as soon as I get the right pop song, I want to see if she'll help me with it. But yeah, just want to see what's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's great expanding. And what's cool, like your songs, it's you. There's a style there, I guess, but they are different, and it's not like, it doesn't sound like the same instrumentation, the same thing every time. And I think that's really cool, right? It's kind of like you get like a pleasant little surprise, like,
maybe that's because I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Well, that's why I was asking you. I mean, because they always sound good. Like, I mean, I haven't like done a deep dive all through like your super back catalog. I know you had some EPs, you know, and then just, I mean, I guess that 2010 was that stuff that you did with Dan way back then, or was that what you did at? Sorry, what was the name of that studio again with Mike?
Congress House.
So that was Congress House for your first.
Mark Hallman and Congress House. So the 2010 stuff would have been Dan Barrett.
Okay. So I don't think I've listened to that. I might at one point. Another one of your songs I really love is Eyes in the Dark. It's such a great song.
So I love that song too because it's totally different than anything I've ever done. It's got kind of that like spaghetti western kind of
the tones are awesome.
Sound to it, and that was totally tailored. It was the first song we did together, and I took it to him and I said, I don't know what this is. So and we haven't worked together. I don't know what this is. You know, what can we do? And I had a beat I wanted to use that I had. It was an 11:59 song.
That's what I was going to say. I thought it was right.
And I kind of had a beat that I knew that I wanted to, you know, an idea about that. And that was the first song he and I did together. It was like 2 years ago, I think.
So several of these singles have come from 11:59. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I'm not super prolific. So this forces me to be prolific. I may only write 4 songs this year.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, though, because then when you spread them out like that with singles, and you're like, oh, that's really cool. And I went and looked at all of a sudden you're like, damn, she's got a lot of songs. Like, that's really cool. I think it's kind of a great way to do it. Like, hats off to you, like the way you're doing this. And what's great is you're using that, and that gives you that motivation, that deadline, that, you know, to write something, to create something. And then you're taking it and produce. That's what I was so curious about, like what your technique was after the writing and how you approach the producing and everything, because all the songs sound in different ways, you know, professional and polished and like, you know.
Yeah. I wish I could say I was doing it, you know, all myself, that I had, you know, more ability to do that. It's been about 10 years since I've had a MIDI set up, and I just got, I would show it to you, but it's going to mess up our whole setup. I have just this little Akai key MIDI controller here that I just got for Christmas. And I spent like 2 weeks thinking it was broken because I was using it with Bluetooth headphones. Have you ever had that problem?
I don't know. I don't think I've tried to do Bluetooth is kind of weird. I don't think I can use it with like Pro Tools, and it's really annoying.
Well, it causes latency, FYI. Right. I deep dived on the internet days and days and hours in a row trying to figure this out. And then someone on some thread somewhere just in passing was like, oh, and by the way, if you're using Bluetooth headphones, it's going to cause latency. And I was like, oh, shut up. Really? And that was
I thought I had terrible timing.
I mean, I was changing all my buffering settings. And I thought it was broken for like 2 weeks. Anyway, I'm sorry. Why did I say? Oh, I was so producing myself. I just am at the point where I just want to be able to get as much as I can envision, as close to how I envision it, out in some sort of way, so that I can take it to someone else and say, kind of this.
Yeah, and I think I also think it's you can only do so much as one person, right? I mean, it's hard to like the writing the song, the performing, the being the artist, and then the production and the engineering. Like, that's a lot of different hats to wear, and it's very time consuming, you know. And I think it makes sense when you see this kind of like, oh, there's an engineer, there's a producer, there's the art, there's a group of people working together, because I think that's very important, you know. It's very difficult to do it all as one person. But so like the demos, when you do the 11:59 stuff, you're just using the MIDI keyboard and then just your microphone there, and kind of simple, get enough to get something together sort of setup.
Yeah. So usually starts keys. And then since I have this MIDI controller, this year I can put down real sounding bass. And put in some synths. And I mean, I can spend hours just checking out synth sounds. I mean, that's like
those rabbit holes go deep.
Oh man. And like there's so many, one arrow leads to another arrow, and the drop downs are like this, and different reverbs. And it's just like, I could be here all day. But, so the MIDI controller for bass usually just makes some kind of beat combination working in Logic.
Okay.
And then vocals, I'm usually heavy on the harmonies because that's where I hear things the most. I don't play guitar very well at all. And MIDI doesn't really either.
Yeah.
So
not the greatest MIDI instrument.
Well, I mean, not, like just like strumming. Yeah,
so I've had some nightmares. I'm actually wearing an Invincible Czars shirt. When I toured with them, we did, they always usually have woodwind player of some sort on tours and whatever. And, I toured and was playing keyboard, but also a MIDI guitar to emulate bassoon and flute sounds. Oof.
Oh, wow. MIDI guitar.
Yeah. I got a story. I'm not going to waste your podcast by telling this story, but, I had a moment, somewhere in, Alabama. Was it Alabama? God, it was bad. There was a full-blown malfunction and it was not good. I kind of had to make some adjustments. And yeah, I mean, you're trying to sit here and play to an old silent film with, classical type instrumentation. And I'm going for a bassoon sound and accidentally hit a button that makes it sound like an Eddie Van Halen solo. That was just the start to a very bad night for me. Fortunately, that wasn't one of the bigger crowds, I don't think, but oh my God. Yeah, no, well, in other words, MIDI guitars are weird. I don't think they've ever found, keyboard is a natural instrument that to play all these kind of synths and sounds on, right? And I just think it's more versatile to play multiple orchestrated instrumentation. A guitar, not as much. As a guitar player, I would so not prefer it that way. I would do a keyboard any day,
Yeah.
Yeah. So and you got a lot of built-in sounds with Logic and all. What's your interface? What do you use? Focusrite, like the rest of us.
AudioBox, PreSonus AudioBox.
PreSonus. That's the other one. The little PreSonus. I think I used that for some stuff way back too. Where was I going to go with how was it your writing process? Like, do you tend to write music first and then come up with melodies and lyrics, or is it the other way around? Or is there a process or a typical way?
I want to say that I'm honing it down to a process, but the reality is I love writing music and I hate writing words. So I could write music all day. It's getting the words right and what you want to say and saying it so it sounds like you want it to sound. Sometimes you don't even know what you want to say or what's the song even about? I don't even know.
I have a lot like that where I'm like, I don't really give a shit. Like, you can interpret it how you want. If it phonetically or rhythmically works and sounds cool, I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like what I learned is, and maybe this is for you, and I wonder if it's for a lot of people, because I used to write a lot of really terrible poetry. And then it was all useless. First of all, I would look back and go like, this is just stupid anyway. But secondly, like, how do I fit this to a song? It's a bunch of but if I have a music and then you can just hum syllables and hum things and words will come to you and things will find their way into that. And I feel like that maybe for more songwriters than not might be the approach, like that route, right?
Yeah. I read something about that's how like Bono does it.
Oh man, now I want to make that South Park joke. What's that? What is he always singing in that South Park episode? Hello.
When he answers his phone.
Hello.
Yeah. The phonetic thing.
Yeah.
I've done a little bit of that. I've tried to pay attention to that more.
However, your songs though, that's all fine and dandy, but like we're talking about a song like Survivors or Everyday Heroes or, most of your songs really, like when I'm listening to it, it's more of like you're telling a story. There's a, it's not just cool sounding lyrical gibberish, right? So you do have to like be conscious of what you're trying to say because there's a point to what you're saying. It's not just like stringing cool sounding words together.
Right. So Everyday Heroes and Survivors both are actually like, they do have a storyline. So those are easier for me to write.
Okay.
Plus, I'm a quiet songwriter, like I'm not someone who just is in my office, like making loud noises. Like
Same.
maybe if I was home by myself, I'd just be like figuring it like blah, 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 seeing, but,
eyes in the dark. Yeah.
So
in the bathroom, just shower going. I'll be right out.
Right. So, but I need to get over that because it's limiting. But I actually did a lot more of the phonetic thing with the song that I did today. The song that I did today has a shitload of words. They all kind of tie in.
I wonder how Neil Fallon does his, because it's almost like a story, but then he's got the phonetic thing going on, right? So
Neil Fallon. I don't know if you're familiar with the band Clutch, Emily.
I'm not.
Clutch to me,
I'm going to make a note of it.
Clutch to me is like the working man's blue collar rock and roll band, right? They've been around. They're from Baltimore, Maryland. They've been around since the late 90s, mid 90s, maybe. And I mean, they're just like a working class band. They're always putting out stuff, and it's kind of, it's rock vibe, bluesy rock, but it's got some progressive elements, some odd meters. Sometimes they got some organs and various instrumentation. They've been on a few soundtracks. They recorded actually a few different albums here in Austin, out in Dripping Springs, actually, with the Machine Shop. Yeah. They recorded a couple of albums out there. And, but yeah, they're a really cool band. And, Vic and I are both big fans of the band in general, and also the singer, because I think he has a nice balance of telling a story, having interesting lyrics with a point, but then just some like really goofy some kind of like bizarre, goofy little things that are just silly, but cool also, and I always kind of get a kick out of his lyrics.
Well, I think it was David Bowie who said, just take random lines from random musings and just put them together. Yeah.
I've heard that from a couple of different guys. I think someone like wrote a song once from using just from fortune cookies. That's what I heard.
Yeah. Like, don't try to I'd like to experiment more with that. That idea.
This could be
I do like things to be a little weird sometimes.
This could be your fourth 11:59 song. It ends up becoming your big pop hit somehow.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Speaking of pop, well, tell us about your, there's Emily Shirley, the songwriter, and you've got your music you put out. But you don't perform. I mean, you do, but not too often solo, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd like for that to change. So I kind of just had like a trio that was feeling good, when everything shut down. And I don't know if I'm going to get that back anytime soon. I want to really know that we're in the clear, right, before I start booking and practicing for band gigs. So I'm trying to do what I can, on my own.
I was super excited to have the Bell Sounds on a Skunk Fest bill, and it all went to shit.
Me too. I know.
I don't even know when that was at this point. It was last year already, or can't even keep up with time anymore. July or something, and I can't even keep up with the variants anymore and what it was. But I remember Noel was, I think, the first one that was like, we don't feel comfortable, and I was like, I totally understand. And there was a few bands dropping out, a few bands got COVID, and we were getting close, and I was like, you know what? I did not feel good about it at all. And I didn't want to be that guy that was like super spreader events at that, during that. And it was unfortunate because there were so many bands on that bill that I really was excited about. Several from the songwriting group too, like Progress. Yeah, we had some other events that were more the rock metal stuff, but the whole one with that was it was going to be more of a eclectic sort of roster of like a variety, jazz and blues. And, there's a lot of cool, stuff going on, but logistically it was too much. And then, with that whole thing happening, it was just like, But yeah, Bell Sounds. I mean, Noelle's insane. And speaking of harmonies, I mean, you guys are just awesome. How did y'all meet, and how long you been doing that? Did you meet through 11:59, or have you known her a long time?
No, we've been together for like 9 years, I think.
So did you meet through her husband?
No. Do you know who we met through? I'm just thinking about it right now. Dan Barrett.
No way. Okay.
Yeah. So, I was recording with Dan in his studio, and he had signed on to be a Bell Sound, believe it or not.
Really?
As like a utility player.
Okay.
And because that's what they were looking for. Noel and Andre had gone into the studio, and they had written and recorded their first full length album as the Bell Sounds. And so now they were back in town, and they're putting together a band to play these songs. So Dan signed up to be their utility player, but his wife was pregnant. Mm-hmm. He was about to go into this whole new chapter, and he was sort of like, I don't know if I can, commit. So he was like, do you want to do it? And I was like, eek, I don't know. I'll give it a shot. And so I remember Noelle and I met, I think it was 2012 or the very end of 2011 mm-hmm. At Bolden Creek. And it was December. And she was like, well, my birthday's in a couple of days, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, when's your birthday? And that's when we figured out we had the same birthday.
No kidding.
And so we were kind of, it's been like this synchronous thing. And so I've been making music with them ever since. And it's evolved so much. Her sound and her writing has evolved. And it started out as like an indie folk rock pop thing.
From what I've heard, I definitely would not describe it that way.
Yeah, what she's doing, what's happening now is like this pop harmony, beautiful, lush.
Yeah, check out the Bell Sounds, Vic. It's awesome stuff, man. She's another one that every time she drops a song, I'm just like, damn. Yeah. She's
fully producing it by herself. Well, her and Andre, but she's working in Logic, and she's just. For the past couple of years has been producing herself. Mm-hmm. And so she'll get the songs to where they're in 11:59, they're like almost done. And then her and Andre will take them into the Congress House, into that console.
Okay. So Congress House on Congress somewhere? I don't know if I've been to that place. Tell us about that. It just moved. It's been there for like 33 and a half years or 34 years. It's all the way down Congress by the Red Shed, almost by South Park Meadows. Red Shed, which is now Far Out Lounge, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I remember Red Shed. I know. I didn't know there was a studio over there.
Oh, if you had the address and you were looking for it, you would pass it 3 times.
Oh, okay.
But because it's like this unassuming house, it's like set back, like the yard is overgrown, and they just put in like a condo, like a huge condo thing, like right next door. Anyway.
Yeah. Seen that.
Developers have been offering him money for years, and he's been a holdout. So, he finally sold, and they just like have been moving the past 2 months. And they transitioned from that space into the Cedar Creek studio.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you know where that is?
I do. I have been to that place. Yeah. That's a cool place.
Yeah. So now that's where they are.
Wow. Okay.
So,
interesting.
Yeah, it's been there for so long, and it just moved.
Yeah. I gotta go. Yeah, that'd be so cool to go hang there, and especially casually knowing Noelle and Andre's, or at least the name, and just, it'd be cool.
They would love it. And Andre's trying to drum up business for the studio right now too. Mm-hmm. So go check it out. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Help. Dead air. Abort. Keep laughing, Vic. I'm
yeah.
Brain.
We are professional.
Golly. Let's see. So how many songs have you released that were written in 11:59? A lot. Do you put out all the songs that you write in there? And not all of them, right?
No. Thank God. Let's be grateful for that. 4 or 5 at least.
Okay.
Without going back and counting. Yeah.
And then Bell Sounds now. So you've recorded, I recorded several things with them then at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like how many albums have you done since you've been in the group?
So there's the original full-length album that I'm not on. And then there's a full-length album after that, that we did in Nashville. And then I want to say 2 EPs and a bunch of singles.
Yeah. Well, I feel like again, like the last few years, like nobody knows what the hell time-wise anything is, but I feel like, wasn't Noelle writing like a song, like releasing a song a month for a year or something like that? Or her and Andre were or something?
It was all through 2020. Was it 2020 or 2021?
Might have been 20.
It's all such a blur.
I know, right?
It was a song a month throughout, I don't know, let's call it the pandemic.
Yeah. And
then she put them all made an EP out of them. Mm-hmm. And we booked a date at 310 in June of this past summer. And I call that the window. Like, we played in the window. We went and we had this sense that like we were going to be okay and COVID was over and people didn't have masks on and the place was packed and everyone was like, we're back. Everything's, you know, do you remember that window?
Yeah.
In like June of this year?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Because I remember that.
It was like a moment, and somehow we landed this gig in that time. And
actually, I remember there was that, and then an album release, because there was a few things that you had to cancel after that, which is, again, like we're talking July or something, right? Wasn't there some stuff, and that's when it all kind of went to hell?
Yeah, there was a thing at Captain Quack's or Quackenbush's or whatever. I mean, could we work on the name of that?
What the hell is that? Captain Quack's? Sounds like a Rob Schneider movie or something.
Yeah, it's strange. It's the old Strange Brew.
Oh, okay, nice.
So they've got a beautiful listening room in there.
Nice.
Unfortunately, they've named it Captain Quackenbush's Bakery.
Interesting.
So it's like a bakery in a listening room.
It's a bunch of people dressed like pirates. That's what I get out of that. I don't know why. But
so that we had to cancel. I'm sure we've canceled other stuff.
Let's talk about. Oh boy. I'm drawing a blank because you're in another group. Mm-hmm. And I remember the name, but I want to see if you remember the name. So tell us the other group that you're in.
Oh, the other group. Right now is Sister Golden Hair.
There you go. That's it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Like the song.
Now that's pretty new, right?
Totally new.
So what's up with that?
That is Wendy Colonna and Barbara Nesbitt, both in the 1159 group.
Right.
Both powerhouse songwriters and performers. And they started this group with Kelly McWheat as their third. And that was the plan. And then pandemic. And anyway, Kelly works with Shiny Ribs and does her own thing. And so she's busy. And over time, they decided they needed an alternate. So they called me as an alternate, I think before the pandemic. And then anyway, it's evolved to the point where Kelly's not involved. She's focusing on her own music, and I'm kind of the third. And we are a total cover band of harmony-driven songs from the 60s and 70s.
Nice.
And we focus on corporate events, private events. I think we're playing like a 93rd birthday party tomorrow.
Holy crap.
So that's totally different, totally new. But it's flexing the muscles. I had to learn a lot of songs.
Is that just vocals or you play keys in that too?
Very basic keys, very basic. And so sometimes that has, so the core group is the three of us, two guitars, keys, and then we all sing. And then there's also a 6-piece band, depending on the situation.
Okay.
Where there's actual, bass player, drummer, guitar player. So when we don't have a bass player, I kind of do some key bass, basic. But yeah, it's been great learning.
Now,
great
so Noelle, you met many years back. What about these two? Did you meet them through 1159 or have you known them prior as well?
Known them prior, just from the sort of scene, they were both good friends with Noelle, lots of mutual friends. We've sort of done things together in the past. So,
yeah, I feel like a lot of people too, like, their names. Like I've heard a lot of these people even now, still really haven't probably talked to them, but much more familiar just through the songwriting group, right? But even then, like a lot of people, like I recognize that name. I recognize that name. It's just people that have been around in Austin song that, you're going to recognize.
Yeah.
And,
So that's been cool. And it's a great, these corporate events and the ability to make money there is something I'm not used to.
That's awesome. Yeah. Corporate events is where it's at. Like you said, you gotta know a lot of songs. Like, do you do, at some of I'm sure they're all different, but do you do like multiple sets sometimes? You do like 45 minutes, take a break, do another set, that kind of stuff, or?
Yeah. Like, we like a 2-hour set, hour 45 to 2 hours, maybe with a break in there is what we've been doing.
Gotcha.
We've got between 20 and 30 songs, and we just made a list of a whole bunch of other ones I need to chart and learn in the next couple weeks.
What are some of the songs? What are some of your favorites that you do?
So we do Sister Golden Hair.
Mm-hmm.
Shocker. Bad Moon Rising. We do some James Taylor tunes, Sweet Baby James, and I don't know, another one. Did you know, by the way, James Taylor songs are so hard. So many chords. Have you ever learned a James Taylor song?
I like whenever a student has ever, which is very rare. Usually it'd be like maybe an older person, be like, like a guy would be like, oh, I want to learn James Taylor. And I'm like, ew. Like, how can we strip this down to like some simple chords? Just you're probably not going to be able to play it. I really haven't. I know I have, but I do remember that being like intricate.
It's like all the chords and almost no pattern. So it's like I'm looking for a pattern, something to like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to play them without music, either of them. But a lot of the tunes are way easier. We do like Our House and Seven Bridges Road and
easy ones like Seven Bridges Road. You get that thing. So the easy stuff.
Yeah.
I don't play. That's mostly the,
well, because you're actual
vocals
singers, yes.
For me, yeah. Let's see. Still the One. We do an Elvis tune called "That's All Right, Mama." We do some Beatles. Things We Said Today. Do you know that Beatles tune?
What album is it on? Do you know? I probably know it, but I don't recognize the title because there's been plenty of Beatles songs where someone will be like, "How about this?" And I'm like, "Oh, what is it?" And then you hear it, and you're like, "Oh, I've heard that."
It's a Beatles tune that I didn't know. I really wasn't familiar with it, and I love it. I don't know what else.
Say it. What is it again? The name?
Things we said today.
Things we said today. Okay.
Yeah. It's
sounds
early.
like early. Yeah, early Beatles.
Early. And I don't know what else. When Will I Be Loved? Linda Ronstadt.
They're just making me think of the James Taylor. I remember playing a wedding one time. Actually, it was that wedding when we had Jamie on here, Vic. The wedding that we played.
Oh, yeah.
And I had most of the songs were no big deal. A lot of classic rock stuff. And I was playing like acoustic guitar. It was like ceremony music for a friend's wedding. And this other guy was playing violin, and his resume is just insane. Like he was literally like played violin on like an Office episode, and he's played with like Yo-Yo Ma. It's just ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Like The Office?
Yeah. The finale.
Yeah. The finale
episode.
Like, he's world class. It's silly.
Well, it was a Sweet Child of Mine, Guns N' Roses. So it's the violin version.
And let's note, I'm more interested in that than I am the Yo-Yo Ma.
Of course. Yeah. I love The Office though. That show.
He's on The Office?
I love The Office so much. Like such a great show.
It's the wedding. It's the wedding scene. I think wedding. At the very last.
Oh my gosh.
And the finale, right? The wedding scene. So I think the song that she comes in on, that she gets carried in on, right? It's Sweet Child of Mine. And that was him.
And literally he's one of those.
With that gig.
He's one of those guys. I mean, his resume is just crazy. Like he's played with Willie Nelson, Pearl Jam. It just goes on and on and on. But like, one of the first things we asked him to was like about his violin. I was like, so do you play like a Stradivarius? And he was like, no, it's a something. I don't know I don't remember what it was called. Like an 1800s bloody blah. That was like a $250,000 violin. Like literally. And like, so I meet up with this guy, and we just like, we got the tunes beforehand and kind of learned them. And then just got together the dress rehearsal the day before the wedding and like ran the tunes together and then played the next day. But like, And most of it was no big deal for me because I'm playing chords to all these old classic rock songs that are great. But when you said James Taylor, it made me think the one song that I was like, Jesus Christ. And I had to get on YouTube and look up stuff, and we did it in a key, or I had to capo it, and I never use a cape. It was just a very funky thing, was Bridge Over Troubled Water. I don't know if you've ever done that one, but I remember that song being pretty tricky for some reason. I had some problems with that, and I had to like watch a video or something. And then and this was outdoors, and of all the fucking songs, the wind blows my goddamn music page during that song. Like any other song, I probably could be like, I think I remember it okay. But I was like, shit, like, I know what you mean. Like, there's certain songs where just like, I cannot get this in my brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Those James Taylor ones for me. And yeah. But I did just upgrade my scene from actual like paper charts in a notebook to like the whole iPad setup.
Oh yeah. I know. I got to get with the 21st century here and do that because
it's a lot. It's a lot of ramp up to get it set up right, or at least it was for me. But now that I have it, it's like.
So how does that work? Since I know nothing of this, and I really should, because it's perfect for all those gigs with easy songs that you kind of know. If someone's like, "Hey, swipe, go," right?
Yeah. So you take pictures of your charts, and you get them in the program. And the one I'm using is Fourscore.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
But so for me, like I was like, I'll put it on my iPad mini, which I've had for 9 years. And literally the only thing I use it for is reading. Like I put books on there. So when I went to put the software on there, it was like, we don't understand your device. Like this is too old. No new software can go on this device. So I had to buy an iPad, of course. So I got an iPad. And I got this Fourscore thing, and you take pictures of the charts, it stores them, and then you can create set lists, and you just drag them. You just drag them. So you can have set lists for all your different bands that you're in. It's really easy to change them, and then you just, flip them with your finger. And you need your battery not to die.
It's always some kind of preparation. Oh yeah, now I need a charger. I know. Yeah, I'm carrying a charger, and then we played an outdoor gig. This was before I had my new iPad, and I just like took pictures, picked photographs, and just had them in my camera roll. So I'm like, in my camera roll at this gig, it was outside, and I realized you can't see the screen outside. Like you just, because of the sun and glare, you just can't see it. Yeah.
So that's a thing I couldn't know, but I think I've heard that it's better. We haven't played outdoors since I've had my iPad, but I've heard that it's better in this program. It doesn't matter if you're outside.
Oh, it's like the glare. It's glare proof, waterproof, glare proof.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. Like several years back, like I had some silly thing upgrading an iPhone or something, and it's like, and you can get an iPad for dirt cheap, or for nothing's free, right? But whatever and I think I actually got one for like a day, and I was like, why do I have this? There's nothing I need this for. And at the time there was no reason to have it, but with like music stuff and in travel situations and that's the one time I think because the phone's too damn small, you know what I mean? You don't want to take your freaking laptop, So like I feel like the time that the iPad actually does make sense.
Yeah. So I use it. So now I use it for all my reading. I use it for my charts, for my own stuff, and for everything. And I use it to play Tetris, which they don't make anymore. So it's some alternate version. But did you know they don't make Tetris?
Why is that?
They just don't.
I love Tetris.
So do I.
I don't even know where this thing is. It's around here somewhere, but like I did one of those silly, do you guys remember there was something about these Nintendo, and it was one of these bullshit knockoff China things that like advertised things that weren't even on 100 games in one or 1,000 games in one. Little mini Nintendo. It looked like the old controller. Original NES, but it was like teeny little thing, came with a controller. And I think they actually did have, maybe not even Contra, but Super Contra, which was weird. And I loved Contra back in the day. So I was like, that was a win. They didn't have any of the Mario stuff. They didn't have shit. Like they had like 100 worthless crap games, but they had
the games that nobody bought.
Yes, they had all the shit, but they had Tetris. And I played the shit out of Tetris on that thing. I love Tetris.
I've played the shit out of Tetris in my life. That and Miss Pac-Man.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
classic.
No one needs to mess with me on those video games.
So what's up with Tetris though? Why aren't they making it?
I don't know. They just don't make it. I had it on my old Kindle and I tried to put it on and they don't make it. So they make knockoffs of it called like puzzle blocks and things like that, which are pretty good. I think the one I have is some puzzle blocks or something. It's a pretty good substitution, but it's not quite the same. You know, they don't. You know how Tetris, like they're falling down and you have to turn them and fit them. Well, this is like they come into the bottom and then you move them with your finger into position.
Oh no.
So you can move them up or move them down. It's different,
evolved.
but
I haven't evolved to that species of like hybrid human AI person yet. Like I still need a controller in my hands. Like there was a game, I'm sure nobody knows this game, but it was the most random thing with like, it was like Dr. Wario. I don't think it was Mario, but it was some knockoff of Mario. It was that somebody once upon a time, there was an arcade game that combined Tetris and Mario, and it was awesome. And it was like this evil Mario doctor. And it was like, and the Tetris blocks were like different pills. Like it was so bizarre, but it was super fun.
Was it Wario?
I feel like there was like a Game Boy thing or something with Wario. I remember Wario, right? The evil Mario or something.
Yeah.
If I was like, that would be like the thing. If I was like ridiculously rich, I would just be like, I have everything. What else can I get? I'd be like, I want that one arcade game from 1990 that, you know, that was in that one Pizza Hut or something. And I would
like the full size arcade.
Yeah. I love
be awesome.
Old school like arcade. That was,
do you remember that, the Miss Pac-Man table?
Yes.
And they still even have those in like old school pizza joints. Like that's becoming less and less of a thing where you sit down. Yes, they have those and it's awesome.
Yeah. And I used to get blisters. I used to have to wear Band-Aids so that I could still play, you know, the joystick. But you know where they had one was at, there was a Juice Land that they put out here in Dripping Springs.
No way.
Which out of business in the past year during the pandemic with so many other things. But they had one of those Miss Pac-Man tables. It was wonky and it didn't work all the time.
Do you guys know that pizza place? Like, is it Conan's Pizza or something? There's a couple of them around town. I feel like they have those old school video games there. I've seen there's a couple. What's the difference between Miss Pac-Man and Pac-Man though? But just Miss Pac-Man's like the female Pac-Man. It's got more shit, right? I think there's more. There was more. It's later, so there's more cool stuff in it, right?
There's a documentary on Netflix that talks about that. And Miss Pac-Man was a mod that these college dudes made to plug into Pac-Man machines to make it more challenging because Pac-Man was pretty repetitive. People figured out the patterns. And so they created this mod that arcades could buy and make it more challenging. And so I think what happened was the Pac-Man manufacturer, I think it tried to sue him or something. But anyway, it ended up turning into a Miss Pac-Man game. Somebody bought their business or something like that. But
so is it just because I'm partial to Miss Pac-Man, or did Miss Pac-Man kind of take over?
I think it did. It totally did.
No, it was a way cooler game. Yeah.
Okay. Cause I can't tell you exactly what's different between them, except that I'm pretty sure Miss Pac-Man is way better.
It is. Well, you know, there's actually a Mario Brothers too. That's super boring and lame and repetitive. It was like, there was an original Mario Brothers was just like Donkey Kong, but with these two plumbers. And then,
we have a version of that.
Yeah. And then they made,
and there's
Super Mario.
It's the 2 levels.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
you can,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say you can buy a Miss Pac-Man tabletop game for like $600 or an actual tabletop console.
I think we all know what you're going to ask for Christmas now.
Well, so Super Mario Brothers, I used to be good at that too, but that I did on the, with the Nintendo controller,
I loved all those Mario games. Mario 2, Mario 3, Mario World. They're all good. And the Super Nintendo. Remember Super Nintendo Mario Kart? That was like one of the best games ever. Did y'all ever play that?
So that people still play that.
So good.
I think kids are still playing that.
It's so good. You could be like, I don't know why, but like they had all the Mario characters from like that they brought in Mario 2. Like you could do like Mario and Luigi, I guess, and Toad and Princess, but for some crazy ass reason, Donkey Kong was in there.
That's
So
right.
I was always Donkey Kong. Like he was a little slower getting rolling, but then he could just like muscle everyone off the road and throw bananas and shit, and everyone would peel out. Yeah,
I didn't ever get to Mario Kart. That must have been
so good.
I must have been out of video games by then.
Well, see, I was the
But,
old, 8-bit. Once they started getting to what was it after the Super Nintendo?
It was 8-bit, then it went to 16.
Oh, and then it went to Nintendo 64. Right. That's where I kind of checked out.
64-bit, yeah.
It's like old school
and then
3D.
When did Xbox
Around
come?
that same time, probably.
Do you guys remember like Qbert? What was that game system?
Oh my God, Qbert. Well, that was probably Atari even. They probably redid it on Nintendo, but I bet that was Atari.
ColecoVision. Was it ColecoVision?
That sounds familiar, but I'm not placing it. That all sounds like Atari stuff to me.
Do you remember Qbert? He was on.
Oh, I totally know who Qbert is. The little orange dude that would jump around. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I haven't thought about that in so long.
Oh, like old arcade games. You had like Qbert and what was that? Galaga or what was it? What was that?
Galaga.
Galaga.
There was Joust.
Oh my God, Joust. I had that on Atari. Yes.
Yeah.
I never have that one.
Oh man, the old Atari games were just so like primitive but it was a computer, back then. I remember getting a used one, when we were, pushing teenager years, and I was just like, we got like a used old Atari at like a garage sale and just had like 30 games of bullshit. But yeah, all those asteroids, remember that?
Yes.
Missile Command.
Just turn around in a circle blowing shit up.
What's the one with the
That's
the
Galaga, right? Where the little things are coming down. They used to always have those at arcades too.
Oh, Centipede. I think you're
that's
Centipede.
The one with it's like a worm.
Oh yeah, Centipede.
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 That's coming down. And then asteroids makes me think of do you remember Pong?
Oh, Pong was the original, right? Like that
Pong was the original. So it just was like you turned it.
Right. And a little ball bounced around.
Yep, and it had a noise, and all you had was a paddle. It didn't move up or down. It just moved back and forth.
So, and then what Pong, and then Atari happened, and then remember Combat? Like, then you had Combat where you had these two little squares with like another little square that were tanks, right? And they would fire at each other and try to blow up each other's tanks. But in the old Atari days, if you guys remember, whenever something would go off one side of the screen, it would come back in on the other side of the screen. And I feel like you could actually blow someone up from like coming in from behind them. Oh man, I haven't thought about those games in years. I regret selling that. I wish I still had those primitive game systems. I wonder if they're worth anything.
My husband went and bought like a whole bunch of those old things and set it up in the garage. I'm not sure I'm not sure what all he has or if it's working, but he like went through the same like nostalgia and was like, I'm going to go see I'm going to see if I can get these games. He got them like on eBay and
it's super fun for like a night. And then you're like, all right, this is boring as shit. But like, it's kind of like how I was with that Nintendo. I like played Contra and like some game. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm bored, but that was awesome. And like, there are a handful of those old games that are like super cool. And I think it's like really cool to have if you have those old, it's kind of like having like a pool table or something, right? And like people come over and it's just like a thing. It's like, I remember one time I was like, doing like this whole like country tour thing in like West Texas. And like, we stayed at someone's house and they had a Super Nintendo or they had all these old Nintendo games. And I was just like, dude, I just like checked out. I was just like, y'all have fun doing whatever. I'm just like getting here, like playing Nintendo all night long.
Well, I remember being a kid and being so excited. We were always behind on the video games, but I had friends who always were the first ones to get the new things. And so if I got invited over there, the Cubert house was one. Like I never had Cubert, but when I went over there, I'd be like, no, I don't really want to hang out or talk. Can we just like play Cubert?
We had these neighbors, same thing. They always had like badass stuff, and they always had all the video games and the newer stuff. And I remember they had a freaking pinball machine, and I would just be like dying to go over there and just play pinball, man. Free pinball. But yeah, we were the same way, and this is really funny. So I remember because Nintendo came out in 85 or something, right? And so everyone's getting it. It got into like the kind of the late 80s, and we were like asking for a Nintendo for Christmas. And my brother like really didn't want to let go of the Santa Claus thing, and I remember like him telling our friends because we ended up getting a Nintendo, and he was like, "I know there's a Santa because there's our parents were not going to get us a Nintendo. I know that Santa brought us a Nintendo." And me and my friends are like, yeah, Santa, yeah.
Is that a younger brother or an older brother?
Yeah, he's a little bit younger. So.
He's your older brother.
Yeah. I was 12. He was 23.
He was 21.
Yeah. Still believes in Santa to this day.
Isn't that sweet?
Oh man. It's such a. I remember so your kids. How old did you say your kids were? 12 and
13.
So I'm assuming they don't believe in Santa at this point.
No.
Okay. Okay. Because what is the age? Like, did your kids have like a moment where they figured? I remember figuring it out and getting like and being like super upset because I feel like I figured it out. I mean, when did most kids figure it out? Like Vic, when did this groundbreaking news shatter your childhood?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Like 7, 8, maybe a little sooner.
Who knows?
So for mine, it was like 9, 10.
Okay.
So yeah, 9ish. So this is I think the second year when they both knew.
Right.
And man, it's so much easier because otherwise you have to, like hide everything.
Yeah.
Now I can just be like, hey, my office is Christmas Town. So
right. Don't go in there.
Right. And you don't have to worry about things like, oh, are they going to know that I had that wrapping paper? Are they
going to put shit together, like figure this out, and am I going to crush them?
But you know what parents have to deal with now that they didn't have to before is that damn elf on the shelf. And do you guys know about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, all I know about it is this thing that you just go stick in random spots all over your house, right? For some reason.
Yeah. So it's like every night. I mean, every family can create their own kind of tradition with it, but it's every night. It goes somewhere new, and it's supposed. It's like the eyes of Santa, but like then elves start bringing gifts and they start doing funny things and getting up to like no good. And like if you go on Pinterest and look up. Like the elf on the shelf, you will see some crazy stuff. The bar is hot.
No,
so
I've seen.
They learn at school. Oh, so and so's elf did this. So and so's elf did this, and I'm like,
well, here's another thing. Now you have daughters or boy, girl,
girls,
both girls.
Yeah.
So, as a general rule, I don't know. Are young girls just maybe more mature than young boys. However, I say this with a grain of salt because as a quote unquote grown man, I'm still like as immature or more so than I was. I think you're really immature and then you get in that awkward adolescent phase and you try to like, and then you get old. And like now me and my like best friends who I've known forever, we're like more immature than their kids. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah. And so my driver's license age is like late 40s. My internal age is 12. Exactly. Still. So, yeah.
And so I know for a fact for myself and most guy friends I have, like, what's a guy going to do? Especially a boy is probably going to do something sexual, right? With those elves. Sure. I think a lot of elves on shelf things are sexual. Am I wrong?
Or torture. Right.
But
torture.
No, because
you just got dark.
I think you might be wrong. At least in a house with kids, because the parents do the elf.
Okay.
So the kids don't do the elf. So like, the kids wake up in the morning and they look for the elf.
Oh.
And they look and see. I'm sure there's some families where the kids do crazy stuff with the elf, but like.
I'm learning a lot tonight. I'm learning a lot about what elf on the shelf is actually supposed to be. I thought it was just a thing for men to amuse themselves with. So what's the point of you hiding? Like, what? So what are you saying? Like, you hide this thing
every night,
and then they go run around, find it so they could accidentally discover presents or something?
No, not really presents. It's just like a thing to like another thing for parents to do. But
just one more fucking pain in your ass.
kind of.
It's like, God damn it! I already had to go get your fucking presents and figure out how to wrap shit and hide, and now I got to frickin' run around the house with an elf every damn night. Yeah.
So every night she moves. She's supposed to move somewhere else to let and the kids go find it. But like. Sometimes they do all these different kinds of things. Like, for instance, maybe one night the elf gets out all their underwear and puts all their underwear on the trees, which that's like the most sexual.
That's what
it's not sexual.
That's how it starts. That's how these elves. It starts with the underwear. And the next thing you know,
Well, and sometimes like once the elf we had a black table, and once the elf put down flour. Like snow, and then made a little elf snow angel in the snow, or I see.
So you got to get creative after a while, right?
Yeah, it's creative and it's work, and so then you get burnt out, and then you just move her every night. She doesn't really do anything, or somebody, sometimes once I've done things where she's been taped to a window, or in the refrigerator, with a washcloth towel.
So that all sounds sexual. It's all a matter of interpretation, perception.
Well, see, I feel like what you can do this coming year is you can do your own version of Elf on the Shelf. You could borrow ours because she's not being used.
Okay.
And you can
I would be too lazy for that. I would just be like that. The elf would sit in one damn spot until I moved. Is what would happen with that thing.
Well, that's what ends up happening. Or God forbid you forget. Like we forgot once or twice when the kids were little, and then wake up and you're like, "Oh, Sparkle didn't move," and we're like, "You didn't move."
I don't know how to tell you this, sweetheart, but Sparkle was on heroin, and
Sparkle has a cold. So. She wasn't able to move. So you find yourself making up this So now that they know about all this, we don't have to do Sparkle anymore. I told them if they want to do Sparkle, they can think of something creative and they can do it for each other. But I'm out. I'm out on the elf. But yeah, the learning about Santa, I don't remember when I learned. I think I learned gradually, probably mostly from school.
Yeah, that's the thing too. There's just no way. Even if you want to hang on to that, you're going to go to school and all your friends are going to start telling you there's no Santa. And then you're just going to be like, you're all wrong. My brother held on hard, man. Sure, he appreciates me talking about it on this podcast. Just remember, it's really funny because then our friends were dropping hints and making little comments, and the moms were like, stop it. He still believes in Santa.
Yeah.
Don't ruin that for him.
Yeah. I have a friend whose daughter, what happened? She woke up as the tooth fairy was arriving. So she woke up to her dad, putting money underneath the pillow. And she was surprised. She was 9 or whatever. And so she's crying and she's upset. There's no tooth fairy. And she's like, the Easter bunny? And they're like,
start putting it all together.
And she's like, Santa. And they were like, yeah.
This horrible traumatic snowball effect.
Same thing. And she was the oldest of 3 girls. And they're like, you cannot say anything. We know this is a terrible night for you, but you cannot say anything. But they all just went down like dominoes.
That's the first. I wonder if on some deeper level, that's why this whole Santa thing exists. It's your first real traumatic dose of adulthood as a child, and you get this crushing news, your whole world flips upside down, and you're not allowed to share it with anybody. You just got to keep the anguish inside, carry this burden for the rest of your life. It's welcome to adulthood.
This is why we all need therapy. Yeah. It begins there. Well.
There probably is therapy for 8-year-olds who found out there's no Santa. I'm sure that exists,
Well, I mean, we could probably still go process it now if we need to.
I feel like I kind of think it's a good idea, you know? Maybe like a lot of adults, I just want to start there, right? Where did it all start for you? Let's start with, if I was a psychiatrist, but like, let's start with Santa. You just immediately see people, the horrible memories come flooding back. It should be your next 11:59 song. We gotta like nudge Dave to do some prompts next year so that we can get some of this Elf on the Shelf Santa stuff in there.
Hey, can I ask you how you know Dave? How did you come to be in 11:59?
I met Dave around, I think, 2009 from this nonprofit thing called Grounded in Music, and we were both instructors there. Yeah, that's Susanna Schoeffel was there for I think a year or something too. And Mike Longoria, do you know him? I met him that way.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of great. Well, I say a lot. I mean, it was a handful of instructors, but yeah, that's how I met Dave. And then I think when he started this, I saw him at like one of those recording academy functions. And I remember him talking about it and inviting me, and I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. And I feel like that was 4 years ago. So I think this is year 4.
Well, he's like the greatest MC of this whole thing.
Oh, he's amazing.
Emails.
Yeah. And one thing I like about David, he's a great musician, obviously, but I really enjoy good writing too. And he's a very good writer, and he like takes his time, and he really puts everything out in the prompts and like it's stuff like, I don't know about you, but I have to go look up all these words. You know, it's like,
oh my
Chimera,
gosh,
what the hell's this? And I go look it up. I'm like, well, that's badass. And then I like, then you end up writing something really cool, or it takes you somewhere else. And that's the point. So yeah, he does a great job of really making us think, right? I'm
just grateful that, we don't have to actually use the word, in the song.
I actually, of all the songs, I used that word.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. But like Diaspora, do you remember Diaspora from last year?
I'm glad you said it, because I think this whole time I just like kept silent, like the one kid who knew there was no Santa, and because I didn't know how to say it. Like, you say it. Yeah. How do you say it? How do you say that? I think it's Diaspora.
I
think you're right. Yeah.
And I think in the end that's the one I didn't end up writing about, because that's when I wrote Survivors, was during the last week. During the last week of last year's 11:59,
right? Well, because
was during the freeze.
I still remember that, because I think there was an email even saying like, "Hey, it's totally cool if you don't get your song in this week because, like people are without power and all that kind of stuff."
So I just abandoned the Diaspora idea. Like, I had some like ideas percolating, but I was like, I really don't know what the hell I'm going to do with this. So instead I was like, I'm just going to write about what's happening right now.
Well, we're glad you did. Get a good song out there. And you used the word percolating. That's a good one too.
Did I just say that?
You said percolating. See, look at the effect this has had on you. You're so smart.
I know.
Developing our vocabulary.
I'm still never going to use Diaspora in a sentence. And I looked up this week's word, and all this time I thought it was chimera or chimera, but I looked up, it's actually chimera.
Oh, for fuck's sake! See, now I just said it completely wrong in my chorus of my new song. Chimera. No, who cares? You can't understand what I'm saying anyway.
I could be wrong.
No, that's it.
I think you're right.
I'm done. I'm throwing this song away. I'm not going to turn it in.
No, don't.
But
it's just like, yeah, like what is that?
So this is my Santa Claus moment on this podcast. Chimera. Is that how you say it?
Chimera.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Man, I'm really glad we had this conversation.
Right. Well, you can just say you were singing about the Mexican version of the chimera. Chimera.
Chimera, yeah. It kind of sounds like a Mexican food, like a dessert or something, like, I want some side of chimeras with that.
Or a burrito that'll blow your ass off, later on. So.
Oh man, did you get the new chimera from Taco Bell? Woo. The new chimera sauce. Oh man. Yeah. Well, what's the new word? That's chimera. What's the next one? Do you know? Have you looked yet?
I think it's witness.
Never heard of that.
And the only reason I know that is because
there's always like one word that you understand, like, oh, catharsis. I know that one.
Well, I think that's the only reason I remember what it is because it's the only. I was like, oh, witness. I can write about that.
I witnessed Skunk run into the bathroom after he had the chimera.
Yeah, there you go. We should just combine them all but make them all mean something different.
There you go.
Yes.
I can't get off this Santa Claus thing. Now I'm going to be like a witness to my parents, putting out presents. I'm going to write about the traumatic child. I'm not going to write about that at all.
You could do a sister podcast that's all about, that begins with the Santa experience.
You know what? That's actually a great idea. A podcast where everybody comes on and talks about how they found out there was no Santa.
Mm-hmm. Or at least that starts it. So can we talk about you for a minute? I don't know how long you need to do this. I know you need to write a song.
Yeah.
So.
No, we could go a little bit longer. Then I definitely need to get my song written.
Kick me off whenever.
I got to write this chimera song. I'm probably going to eat a chimera and then write the song. Go ahead.
So you have like 65 episodes with like a hugely eclectic group of people. And once again, see what I did there?
Yeah, I think we picked a good name.
It really is. I mean, it seems like people from all over the world.
Yeah.
And are these all people that you know somehow?
A lot of them are, and some of them are people we've just reached out to or been put in touch with and that kind of thing. And I mean, just really I don't know. It's just, never was like a fear of lack of guests because there's just so many people out there and you meet so many different people. So go ahead, Vic.
Yeah. I mean, the episode before this, we didn't know those guys, right? They were referred to us, the Space Camp guys.
Actually, yeah. So what's really cool now. So we started, this during the pandemic. That's why we started this. Actually, Vic and I hadn't,
we were bored.
Yeah. We hadn't talked in a while. And I think we were just doing a Zoom to catch up on stuff and whatever. And Vic was like, yeah, I've been doing some voiceover stuff or whatever. And, it'd be cool to do a podcast. And that's one of those like things that I always had in the back of my brain, like, friends be like, oh, podcast, you start a podcast. But I never really,
hey, we should start a band.
We should start a band. That'll be easy and fun and not require any work whatsoever. Like, no. By the way, this is just like everything else. You're like, yeah, cool, no big deal. And then you get into it, you're like, fucking shit, this is a lot of work. Like, we had like a lot of troubleshooting, and I mean, we still do, obviously, right at the beginning of that. But it's super fun and yeah, I mean, so we just it almost started like on a whim, right? And you just brought it up and like, yeah, let's do that. And fortunately, Vic took the initiative and did the research and figured out how to do it, which has gotten, much easier in this day and age, right? And so we were like, yeah, cool. We just started booking people. And then recently, this season 2 or whatever, the last, I don't know, when we started that, November or something, we took a couple months off. And then we partnered up with this publication in Canada, in Toronto, called Top Shelf Music. And so,
yeah, I listened to a little through that.
Yeah, they're super cool. So they've actually thrown a couple of guests our way. Like Vic was saying, that last group, Space Camp. And I think Skunk Funk came through them too. So they'll put us in touch with various managers or press people or whatever. And then we end up with, that. And yeah, it's just kind of so cool. Whatever. But thanks. Yeah, I love that aspect of it, that it's just all over the place, because there's just, it's really fascinating talking to all these different people. I enjoy it.
And so how do you guys know each other from playing music together?
Go ahead.
we actually met at ACC in Spanish class.
What?
Yeah. And I think it was our final project. We had to do we had to do a play, or we had to film like a short,
it was a newscast
movie or something. A newscast, right? Or I guess just film a video, right, with whatever theme you want. And in between all the work that we were doing and all the drinking we were doing, we started talking about, I think, Alice in Chains or something like that.
Well, Clutch, the band we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah.
So we just started talking music, like when we did this project together. And I think we sat next to each other, maybe casually talked in class. But then after we had this group project, after that, we all went and hung out and just, had some beers and just, started talking.
It's a back room. Yeah.
So, I mean, we've been friends. That was 2005. We've known each other for freaking forever now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it made sense,
That's so cool. And so with the podcast then, do you have sponsors, or is that a goal, or do you not care about that, or is it?
Well, it'd be great to get to that place. I mean, right now we just kind of plug companies that I work with, and guitar, Tragan Guitars, Godan Guitars, Ernie Ball Strings, musical companies. Obviously, Top Shelf Music, since they're putting it out on their sites. Just different people like that. And another longtime friend of mine, that really immature guy I was telling you about, he started a construction business. called 5 Iron Woodworks. So right now we just kind of plug all them and they, that kind of thing. But if you know anybody that ever wants to give a podcast money, let us know. It'd be great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll keep my ears open. Absolutely.
It's like anything though. I feel like
that would be nice.
It's just like, how are you? Let's talk about one last thing. Like, well, then I'll ask you the weird questions that I always ask at the end of the podcast. Like when we're like, we should just be like, okay, thanks for coming on. I'm like, well, what's your favorite food? Chimeras? Do you like chimera? What spice level do you like your chimera at?
I thought you were going to bring up the Bermuda Triangle cruise.
Oh, okay. So I want to know what you eat, and we got the Bermuda Triangle question for you.
Okay.
But before that, now I lost my train of thought. What the hell were we saying? What was I talking about?
Podcast
you said there was one last thing you wanted
sponsors.
to ask.
Oh, social media. How are you with all that stuff? How do you do that?
We're
Do you like
horrible with it. Yeah.
Oh, we're horrible with it. Yeah. But how are you?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm a designer.
That's a good point.
So I'm able to do my own stuff, and I don't have to like do that added thing where I find someone to work with and design myself. I can just do it. I don't know how good I am at it though. I try not to be annoying, but I try to get the word out. I don't know.
I know, right? It's kind of there's a balance to be had because it's like you have to be on there these days, right? Yeah. But it's also like it can get so exhausting. So I feel like I've gotten to that point. I know Vic's like this, where we're just like this. What else do you do? Podcast, everybody. So that'll be our advertisement when your podcast comes out. It'll be like Emily podcast. That's it. Yeah, 2 words.
Do you have an Instagram? Does the podcast have an Instagram?
We do. Like we just use it I just basically put up what each of the guests with like a synopsis, and it's kind of what we do with that.
Kind of a link.
Yeah.
Can we link it?
If you ever need help, like with some kind logos aren't really my forte, but I can do logos. But like just some kind of like little square graphic that's like that you use on a regular basis. That's like, I don't know, some kind of promo or whatever.
Cool. Yeah, appreciate the offer.
Yeah.
That would be pro bono. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of out there in social media with everyone else, kind of wiggling around and doing what I can.
Vic spends all his time on TikTok, doing dance videos.
Oh God!
That's where all my my kids are on TikTok all the time. They're on all the social media.
I mean, we're the old generation on Facebook, right? Facebook is like,
oh yeah,
whatever.
Facebook is not cool.
No, it's total dinosaur.
All the old people are on Facebook, so we are not.
It's the MySpace now.
Oh, right? It's not that bad. I don't know if it'll ever get that bad, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I know there are alternate sites, but I think it's so hard for any of them to compete, right? Like, I discovered this thing now called Rumble. Have you heard of this? Mm-mm. It's only videos, I guess.
No, it's a YouTube competitor.
Yeah. Is that what it is? Like, I thought it was like another social media platform, and I got on there, and I was like, what do you do? And I just like uploaded our new video. I was like, I guess that's all used just for videos. And so I was like, I was going to do video content. Like, that's a place, I guess, but
yeah.
Go ahead, Vic.
No. Go for it.
Well, I was just going to say anything video related, and I'm screwed. I don't really. That's an area where I need to get better.
It's like music. It's all very time consuming. You know what I mean? It's like if you to write and produce, to put together a song, that takes time. It's not just something even if you're like, I'm going to knock that. No, you're not. It takes time. Making a video even just takes time. The
little crappy lyric videos I made on YouTube or whatever takes me like 1,000 hours.
Yes.
And then it gets like 227 views. And it's like, what?
That is precisely the dilemma. Yeah. It's like, why do I work this hard
to show for that time?
Exactly.
That's more than our podcast views.
Yeah. But no, you're right. Well, Vic and I have probably been talking about for like a year, going like, we should make a little, montage of like, cool, funny moments, which would be great. But again, it would turn into something that was very time consuming, and it would get 14 views. Clips. And I'd be like, well, I'm glad I spent 2 weeks of my life doing that, So I think that's what everyone faces these days, because it's just like everything is saturated to no end,
But can you do like an outtakes role? I think that would be fun.
You know what? It could be the beginning of every one of our podcasts. Hello? Are you hello? What's that noise? Hello, Vic? Can you hear me? Change your microphone setting.
That would be funny. Like
we We did one of the podcasts.
We had like some recaps or something, right?
Yeah. One of the which band was it where the dude just kept on talking, and where was he from? Like North Carolina or something. He had that real thick Southern accent.
What?
Right. And he was talking. Do you remember that one? Jeez.
I remember North Carolina. We had, Jelly Ellington. We had him on here. He's from Asheville.
Jelly.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, Jelly.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun with Jelly. And then, PJ was one that he's in Nashville. I don't know who.
PJ.
Oh, dude, I know which one you're talking. That was Tibetan Sky Burial. They did it from Evil Snail,
yes.
and Shane
Yes.
and that other dude were from North Carolina. So after the
That's
podcast,
right.
these other guys come out and we're all just talking. And I think you started the podcast. It's horrible.
I hit. Oh
yeah, it's totally adult guy porno gross. But it's hilarious because it just dives in. Like, is it an outtake or does the podcast start like that?
No, it was like the outtake.
Okay.
It's like we finished the podcast, we did the outro music or something, and then I just faded in the audio clip of him talking about some crazy story fitting things where they shouldn't fit. So
yeah, they're
See, people would be interested.
no,
in
yeah,
that.
they don't really. I hate to break it to you or anybody else. The people like, I don't care about your music, but that thing that shouldn't fit in that thing. Oh man, let's go listen to that. Did you hear about that thing they put in the thing? Yeah, cool. I think we've got a new format. So you're actually going to be our last musical guest. This is now all we're going to do is just have porn stars and people whose lives have been ruined by Santa. Maybe that's one, like someone like took the Santa news really, really bad, and then that's what happened.
Well, that's a podcast, but then
Started putting things where they don't belong. I said the word porn and she left.
Sorry.
Oh.
No, I said I wasn't going to touch anything, and I touched it. So you could have Dan. You could have Dan Garrett on your podcast because we've talked about him so much. I'm sure his ears are ringing somewhere, and now he's got like a family and a floor business. And then you should also have Roger Blevins because I want to listen to that podcast because I want to hear all about.
Do you know Roger?
His process.
Do you know him?
And Mingo Fish Track.
Yeah, I don't know him. I feel like he's a hard guy to get a hold of. I'd love to have him on though.
The only time I ever met him was at Same Sky for one of the 1159 things.
Yeah.
And
I'd love to get either of the Daves on here too. Definitely going to have more 1159ers, no doubt about it. So now you can put out the good word. You can pop in the group and be like, "Oh my God, I had so much fun on the podcast. Most amazing thing." Yeah, super cool. What's your favorite food?
Chimeras.
Wait, let us guess. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe.
Is she sweets?
I
don't think she's the Chinese buffet type. Not getting a Chinese buffet vibe out of you. How awkward am I making this? What's your favorite food?
And bourbon is
it
not.
is to
It is me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is correct. You answered correctly. You passed.
Little bullet. No, but probably macaroni
my-
and cheese. If it's actually like an edible
You
thing.
just made I can't wait for my fiance to hear this podcast now. She is a macaroni and cheese fanatic, and she will be happy just to hear those words. Yes.
Yes, I was actually given quite a while ago, but like a whole cookbook of different kinds of macaroni and cheese.
Now, I think this conversation is going to continue post podcast because when they're like hitting you up like, "Hey, give me one of them." She's about to be here. She's in San Francisco, but she's about to be here in a week or two. So I might have to hit you up for some mac and cheese recipes. I'll treat her to something fancy schmancy.
I'd have to dig out that cookbook.
So sitting in the corner, collecting dust with your elf on the shelf. Yeah.
With my books.
Well, they're all in your iPod now, right? iPad, iPod. Look at me, Mr. Facebook dinosaur guy. Do you have an iPod? Do you use MySpace on your iPod? Oh God!
With Napster.
So the last thing, I don't want to ruin everything. You've been such a delightful, wonderful person, as you are. But we feel like every artist and, everyone has like music that they just don't dig, right? That are just kind of rub them wrong. And if you want to answer Skunk Manhattan, that's totally acceptable. But like, where you're just like, there's, for whatever reason, there's just a band or an artist that you're just like, ugh, not my thing. We take it a step further and call it, we used to call it the Titanic, and that's just too harsh. So then we made it the Bermuda Triangle Cruise, where you just take all the shitty bands and put them on a boat or whatever that goes to the Bermuda Triangle and never comes back, so you never have to hear them again. Just your reaction makes me think that you're like, oh yes, this fucking band. Do you have one of those?
No, so my reaction is like, that's difficult because I have such empathy for people who spend so much time
that's
art.
That's a really good answer. It's a very mature answer, isn't it?
That I hate to call out, like, God, I hate that.
No, I think that's a really good, mature answer. And we can act, it really is. Man, screw graphic design. Can you run PR for me? Jesus. Like, I clearly should not be talking.
No, but I will say that, generally speaking, especially, so I'm from the East Coast, and Texas is just.
I was going to ask that too. I forgot. When did you move here to Austin? Okay. 2006.
So I grew up in Connecticut and Boston, in college there. So if at any point in my early life you told me I'd be living in Texas, I just would have said, nah, that's wrong. But so as a very, very general genre, I will tell you that country music has never resonated with me, and I will frequently change the channel. I will then, with that said, say that I have developed a huge appreciation for some genres and some country artists, Western, different micro genres since I've been here. But it's been a little bit of a judgment hurdle some of the time.
Yeah. Yep. You thought bro country.
Am I offending?
No,
am I offending everybody right now?
I was thinking of bro country.
The funny thing about it is, what's funny about it is like that question. It's kind of like it's kind of just whatever. I mean, we're not like. I mean, some people they're more than happy to be like, oh, I hate. They just. We had one guest in particular, like he just was endlessly. Now, one of the bands he picked, like I align with him. Like I just don't like that band. I never have. They're super popular. Just the voice rubs me wrong. And so we just had fun with it. And then he just started shitting on like another Austin icon. And Dick and I are just like, bro, like easy fella. Like, and this guy, like there are certain bands. I hate Alice in Chains. Why? I don't just relax, like, I mean, they're definitely like, we have our certain ones that we like, we say, and we not so much as lately, but for a while there, I think every podcast was just me like bitching about COVID and talking about hating Smash Mouth or something. But like, but I don't know why I just don't like Smash Mouth. I'm sorry. I'm not going to apologize for that.
You don't need to apologize. I'm not a big
Jimmy Buffett seems a little vanilla to me, right? I don't know. Then again, I don't know his catalog. Maybe he's got some great stuff, but right.
Just I
agree. It's not my scene. The funny thing is, and what I think is important is even to be able to talk to people. I think this goes further than music. And this is I don't want to go down this, but with Vic and I I think we have talked about with several guests on the podcast is like, people, we're all different. We're all individually have different opinions, political opinions. And things got real tense these last few years in the politics and the COVID and then this and that. And things can be that way. But I think it's really important to be able to talk to people with different opinions and even take a joke. Like if someone says my favorite band in the whole world sucks, like, okay, I don't agree with you, but that doesn't mean that like I'm going to delete you from MySpace or, not be your friend or want to or fight you. Like that's ridiculous. And so I think joking around. Yeah.
Take that person off your iPod.
How dare you? I'm taking this Smash Mouth song. Taking Smash Mouth off your iPod. But like, I think like in a little way, music, like, people can get so bent out of shape over something as silly as what's your favorite band or what band you like or not like. Or so it shouldn't be like that offensive. You shouldn't have your blood boiling just because, although I understand, like if I was on a 12-hour road trip listening to nothing but bro country, I'd probably be like, bro, like we gotta like change the station here. But I mean, my point is I have friends that like work with artists that are in these genres, and like good friends and people and colleagues that I respect, and I've watched, different documentaries, and I think it's so important, good to kind of go do that. And like, you get that perspective and you realize there is good in every genre. And there's like, these are professional musicians, and there's something to be found positive in all these things. Having said that, you don't have to like everything, and it's totally okay to just not like something. Right.
And just right quick, because it's pertinent to the music conversation today. You said documentary. Have y'all seen the Beatles?
I have not yet. No.
We really need to get our shit together, Vic. We're running a fucking music podcast over here. Have you seen the Rush documentary? No. No. Have you seen the ZZ Top? No.
The Eagles, the Leonard Skinner. No.
Who was that? Well, Beatles?
You can make. I haven't seen any of those. I have not seen any of those except for the big.
Yeah, I've heard it's fantastic.
I've heard both, but I was surprised by my own personal reaction.
So what did you think? Did you like it, or? Yeah.
Well, it's like 8 hours long.
I haven't watched it.
So the first episode was sort of tedious for me, and it was my idea to watch it. I got my husband to watch it with me, and I was the one who was like, "You should watch something else." Like, it's been like an hour, and I'm not sure if I'm really into it. And then he was like, "Okay, I'm out on that now." And the next night, I was like, "All right, I'm going to go see if I can get into this." And something about that second episode, through the rest of it, I was completely just so in it and fascinated by the roles that I didn't know kind of were the way they were. And it shows like the evolution of these songs that we've all heard from like the very beginning before they even were anything. Like Get Back. And just huge respect for some members and less respect from others than maybe I would have had otherwise. And when it was over, they did this whole like montage of like outtakes and stuff. And I was like teary eyed, and I was like, what am I going to
So
watch
just,
now?
do you get that? Do you get that from, like you say, respect for some more than others? Is McCartney like Johnny Whimsical and Lennon's like the bitter codger and Ringo's the doofus, or does it completely surprise you and it's not that at all? And you're like, Paul was a dick and none of us knew. Like, what did you have any big like blow your mind moments that things you didn't expect? Or
I guess I didn't realize what a driver of the Beatles force, what a total band leader Paul McCartney was. I thought maybe, I don't know where I got this idea, but I thought it was maybe John Lennon or maybe the two of them together. But the way the documentary shows it, I mean, his work ethic, and just like, I just have so much respect.
I can see that, right?
There.
John's fucking around with Yoko, and Paul McCartney's like, John, we've got to get to the studio.
The whole time.
We've got to make an album today.
I mean,
like literally the entire album today.
I mean, that's kind of how it was. I mean, in the Yoko thing, I could talk about that, but I won't. And she's there for a lot of it, but like, John just wasn't, he just wasn't in it. And maybe that was just this part.
I so loved solo, he's got some dogs, but a lot of solo John Lennon songs are so, I actually know more John Lennon songs than like Paul McCartney, Wings, post-Beatles stuff, and I love Lennon, but I mean, it's their catalog, just as the Beatles alone and what they did before they were 30 and all those albums, these iconic, and they basically wrote the book on recording, what can be done with pop music. They did it all, and then of course, George Martin is equally integral in that whole thing, but yeah, that's, I don't know. It's weird. It's like, I don't know why. Like, we had a guest, actually, Vic, I was watching part of the podcast we had with Mike, Mike Norris from, My Favorite Album podcast. And
my classic album.
My God fucking, yes. And I fucked it up on the show. Great podcast. Just, so love this guy. And, now I lost my train of thought. He was asking us if we had seen the Elton John movie and the Freddie Mercury movie, and I haven't seen those either. And I think there's this weird part of me that is hesitant to sometimes even watch some of that, because like it's romanticized and Hollywood, you know what I mean? And like, I'm not saying so much about the documentary, but It's weird.
The movies.
It's like I'll watch garbage. I'll watch bad, dumb movies because I know that they're not going to change anything, right? If I watch
watch Steven Seagal, right?
Yeah.
So you know what to expect from Steven Seagal.
Dumb mindlessness. But if I watch something like, I don't know why, right? I think like maybe some subconscious thing, part of me doesn't watch some of these documentaries because I don't want to know or something. You know what I mean?
Well, and sometimes it's like, I'm going to ask you another one that you probably haven't seen, and it's okay. But it's
I love that movie, actually. I love Lady Gaga.
Did you see it? Okay.
Rules. Like, I think she's fantastic.
She does fucking rule. But the reason why I didn't watch it, I was like, I don't know, something's gonna irritate me. I can feel it. And I thought all of it was awesome. I'd never seen a previous version, so I didn't know how it ended. So of course I was taken just completely by surprise. But basically there's that scene where they we're made to think that they wrote that whole song in that parking lot in the dark in 20 minutes. And then the next night she's out on stage singing it with them.
We have the unfortunate position of, and it's less so nowadays because nowadays everything is accessible to everybody at all times and everything. There's no smoke and mirror. There is, but not as much, right? The magic tricks are all online, right? But that's what makes artists and celebrities larger than life. That's what's always made them that, because there's the mystique, and the consumer, the average person, is like, oh my God, and I just wrote a song, and why I'm giving them a country accent. I don't know, but I am. And it's just like, I wrote a song. Now they're on stage. It's a great goddamn thing I ever seen. But the reality as the artist, it's not like that at all. It's like this process, and it's a lot of freaking work and blood, like I said, blood, sweat, and tears. It's not just like, oh, they had a moment in a parking lot and 15 seconds later she's on stage in front of 1 million people. It does not work like that, right? In
an arena, right. And performing it with the full band.
Yeah.
And anyway.
Yeah, that's the romanticism behind it. I think that you nailed it just there. There's something about that with certain movies, and that I know that's going to be there. And that's okay. And you got to go into it with that, but you just I feel like it's almost like, for me, it's like, because I know other people are watching it and it was this. And it's like, well, not really, But don't get me wrong, The Doors is a great movie. Amadeus, have you seen Amadeus? Oh my God, what a great fucking movie. Go watch Amadeus. It's just a fucking great movie about
it came out Mozart, in the 80s.
Yes,
great movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
it was
totally
a big deal.
Is it accurate? Most likely, no way, but it's just a great movie. So all this stuff is kind of like that, I'm sure. Having said that, I have no excuse for not watching the Beatles documentary. Vic and I have wasted plenty of time on serial killer documentaries. I probably watched The Office 14 different times.
We should have a whole different podcast on serial killer documentaries. Because the whole making a murderer,
I've seen a lot of those damn things. I don't know if I've watched that one yet.
I haven't seen that one. We saw what was it, the hotel one?
Cecil Hotel. That's what we talked about that with Jelly.
Where it was in the water tank?
Yes.
And there's all this footage of coming in and out of the
elevator. And it was all creepy and weird.
Elevator. Mm-hmm. But there's no what, I was watching that during the freeze.
Sounds about right. Because I remember our power kept going on and off. And so I had to keep, I don't know if I actually ended it, but there was no you never know what happened. I think you do. I think she had mental disorder and drowned herself. Yeah. I think she was, I think so. Herself in the water tank? Yeah. Okay, what about Unsolved Mysteries? I love that show. The old Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack. To this day, if that music comes on, I'm I want to check and make sure the door is locked. It's the most eerie thing. And as a kid, I'd be super scared, but I couldn't pull myself away. And I love that show. And then they revamped it. Are you talking about the new ones? Those are good.
Yeah, without them. Yeah.
I like them. Except for the Alien. I don't know what it is. The Aliens ones don't do it for me. Once there was the Alien episode, I was like, eh. But I think there's.
Yeah, that's right.
I just remember one, right? Was there more than one Alien episode?
I think it was
I think it's just one.
There's another season now, right?
But
what is there?
It drives me. Is there a new season? It drives me crazy that there's no, you don't know the answer. How did that guy fall through?
Oh my God.
Yes. Was it Baltimore?
The first episode where that guy just ended up getting chunked off a building. There was a hole in the roof and a flip flop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we just watched this whole thing and now we don't know what
was the other one we watched? Oh, the Night Stalker one.
That was fucking terrifying. That was so disturbing.
And he stayed in the Cecil.
Disturbing.
He stayed in the Cecil Hotel too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So disturbing. And that guy, I'm trying to remember, was it an actor who portrayed that guy? Or
no,
was it real footage of him?
And that documentary.
I remember them talking about his smell.
Yeah.
And like the librarian, when he walks into the library and she says he like looked like a goat and he had like this terrible smell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
On that note, you need to write your song.
No, I'm glad that you're pulling the plug there because this is where I start going off into crazy rant mode. The serial killers gets me in rant mode. But Emily, to be continued, we'll have to have you back and do
I would love that, and I'll make sure my cat's not
serial
in here
killer
so he's not
documentary.
yelling.
Oh, I thought that was just murder happening. Like since we were got your own little Cecil Hotel going right over there.
There you go.
Okay, well, everybody, thanks for tuning in. This has been
thank you so much,
Austin, Texas, Emily Shirley. Check her out on Spotify, Apple. Make sure to download her tunes, buy her songs, put them on your iPod. Her music's on Bandcamp. Mm-hmm. Oh, you got a good looking website.
And Napster.
Right.
Napster.
She's got some 8 tracks out for release. You've got
listen to them while you're playing Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man.
You've got a good looking website too, right. EmilyShirley.com. Is that right? Yeah. Cool.
Emily Shirley, like Laverne and Shirley.
So there you have it. Go check out her music. Mm-hmm. Fantastic music. Emily, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Until next time. Okay.
Hey, folks, that concludes another episode of the podcast. Guest links will be available in the show notes. We'd like to thank our friends at Top Shelf Music for showcasing the podcast on their site. Be sure and check them out at topshelfmusicmag.com for the latest music news, reviews, and events. We'd also like to thank the folks over at Tragan Guitars, Godin Guitars, Ernie Ball Strings, and 5 Iron Woodworks. Have a great week and catch you on the next one.